Hi, everybody. So here we are again, reading from my book, Transforming Suffering into Wisdom, Mindfulness and the Art of Inner Listening. And underneath it all, it has this further subtitle, Applying Meditation to Everyday Life. I think you're beginning to see that that's what we're doing. And we're in there are three intentions we use to diminish suffering, to actually, I think, eliminate it, to relieve it, to eliminate the stress and the anxiety that we feel. And here at times now in the coronavirus crisis, we're feeling a lot of feelings that are troublesome and difficult. Could be loneliness that we're feeling. And these practices are meant to relieve a lot of that and give us the ability to see clearly into ourselves and learn to build character inside of ourselves, to build wisdom inside of ourselves, so that it's not just something that's up here intellectually, but that we know. So these practices are ultimately experiential. Right now we're working with the second intention called pull the plug on the self. And you're already seeing that pulling the plug on the self largely has to do with letting go of thoughts, of the thinking mind that has the self as a major element of the stories that's unfolding. So this particular chapter is about a fear that often comes up when we go, oh no, whoa, I've got to give up myself. And the fear is, but what happens to me? What happens to me? It's a perfectly reasonable fear. In truth, all you're really letting go of are thoughts, not letting go of who you are. In fact, there's a strengthening, a deepening, a clarifying, and a greater wisdom, more solidity in a life-enhancing way. Here we go. Okay, so, but what happens to me? You might wonder, what happens to me if I pull the plug on the self? Will my life dry up? Will I feel lonely or alienated? What happens to myself, my dreams, my relationships, my place in the world? Perhaps the surprising thing is that nothing but good happens from pulling the plug on the self. Nothing but deepening, strength, and a newfound clarity. It's not always easy. Giving up a habit is never easy. And new darknesses will emerge within the clarity, darknesses that will have their own I thoughts to let go of. What diminishes will be your clinging, as all the places you cling to are released from your anxious grip. It's extraordinary. Instead of limiting your self-experience to narrow, grasping, repetitive reminders of who you are, you experience life itself rushing through your veins. All those things about you that are familiar or that you love will remain. Your talents, your interests, your accomplishments, your history and memories, your passions, your connections, your inclinations, and your dreams, as well as the richness of your senses. What you have shifted is an ego structure that is grasping and clinging to one that is at ease and sees things clearly. From a being that often contracts in suffering to one that feels more connected with the world around it. Flush with life itself. When you see suffering around you, you know how to relieve it. Pull the plug on the self, and you will see you are life itself, and not a diminished thing. So I think that's the final point of this particular chapter. That we, what the self does, the way we use it, the I stories, the me stories, the my stories, the clinging, and all of that. What it does is it puts boundaries around you, so that you don't feel the freedom of kind of your natural being, your authenticity, the nature of yourself. Rather, you're this historic, bounded creature that you're the slave driver of. You're cracking the whip. Pull the plug on the self. Pull the plug on yourself, and you'll find incredible freedom. At first, very subtle, sweet, but substantial. Thanks.